All right, welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Tuesday, August 26, 2020. We are tracking the progression here of Hurricane Laura. Yesterday, we reported that this was at least going to be a Category 3 hurricane. Well, now it's a very strong Cat 4. And the situation, just as I suspected, has gotten worse, and the intensification on this storm has become much larger as well. So we'll get right into it here. I'll go ahead and read off some stats on Hurricane Laura and what she is going to probably do. And there is a lot to go over with the forecast tonight. So here we go. Hurricane Laura right now is still a Category 4 hurricane. Its winds are at 145 miles per hour that's sustained winds now, folks. I just want to let you know. Gusting winds of 175 miles is possible. The speed of this storm is moving at 15 miles per hour at west-northwest with a pressure of 947 millibars. So we are dealing with a major hurricane that is set to make a landfall near Lake Charles. A couple of things I want to mention about this storm. We are going to see Shreveport, by the way, with Category 1 hurricane conditions. Now, Shreveport is hundreds of miles away from the coast, and it will still see a hurricane-like system move through on this cone. So we have that. The wind is going to be insane as far as anyone who is even thinking about not evacuating. This is not a storm that you can just ride out. We are talking about storm surge of about 15 to 20 feet. And I need to get my blue, Mari, actually when Mari gets back in here.
Here, I can help you real quick. I gotta go get my laptop.
While I'm talking, would you mind putting the arrow up for me in this scene?
Oh, little arrow, sure,
Yeah.
I can do that.
That way I can show people exactly where to expect some of these totals. So, Category 4. Yesterday in the broadcast, I said it was going to be at least a Category 3. The thinking here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel was that we were definitely going to see a Cat 3, but possibly a strong 4 with, dare I say, the possibility of this thing strengthening to a Category 5, a weak one. There's no, actually, I'll take that back, I'm sorry. There's no such thing as a weak Category 5.
I'll give your arrow to you then.
Thank you. There's no such thing as a weak Category 5. Let's be quite clear on this. So, let me move this around. All right, so here we go. Let's get the ear. There we go. Handy dandy. So, where I'm talking about, pointing up here, where we will see hurricane-like winds, 110 miles per hour in Shreveport. So, here's the coast, and Shreveport's up this way. 200 miles, something like that. Anyway, so this is an unprecedented storm, and like we said yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say, we expected this kind of intensification. We expected it. When the storm was over here, and the track started moving more west, well, now this storm had to travel over into this pocket of the Gulf Coast, which, by the way, the average temperatures right now where this storm is, it's sitting in about 90-degree waters right now. It also traveled through upper 80s and 90-degree waters right here. So this storm had plenty of time to develop it's doing exactly what hurricane analysts and forecasters all over have said it was going to do. And watching this thing right now, so let's talk about cycles and intensifying, and then it weakens a bit, and then it intensifies, and then it dies down a bit. Here's where it's coming from and dying down to strengthening, and then we will see it weaken again before it goes through another strengthening cycle. Question is, will it still be far enough away from landfall that when this thing strengthens and goes through its cycle of being more intense, will that be enough to push this thing over into a Category 5 storm? And I got to say the chances look pretty good of that. Let's take a look at some maps here. Maybe I can get us a better view of a couple things. All right, let's zoom this in. That's not really a lot, but bear with me, folks. Bear with me. I'm talking to myself like a crazy person. I thought I had that. Well, I guess not. Anyway, so where are we looking at as far as storm surge goes? And I know this is really hard to see. In fact, I think what I will do here actually, all right, so I mean, geez, you go to weather.com and the headline is in big bright red and it says horror, 145 mile per hour winds. I want to add something to it. I'm not doing this to like freak anybody out, but after I got off the air 2 days ago when I kind of said, prepare, it's time to evacuate, this and that, I told Mari afterward, there's something about this storm that felt Dorian-ish. And I don't mean it's going to be the exact same type of hurricane here. Obviously, Dorian stayed in one spot overnight, you know, for hours and did way more destruction than what we're looking at here. Plus, Dorian was a Cat 5 and stayed in place for several hours. So we're not dealing with that kind of Dorian. But the size and the strength of this storm is what I'm concerned about. And that is what also folks at weather.com and other organizations, let's take a look here. I'm going to zoom in. So this is the storm surge near Cameron. We're talking about 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. And I've seen some pretty gloom and doom type analysis about that kind of storm surge. And we are talking about somewhere in the vicinity of this is not survivable. So if you are anywhere near the coast of Louisiana, near Cameron, and you see, you live in a city that's near the purple here, the bright purple, you need to, it is time to leave now if you haven't already. You're really late if you haven't. This is not something that we can sit and just ride out if you live right on the coast. With this kind of wind, and this storm could intensify and get to a Cat 5. (10 to 15 feet on the border of Texas and Louisiana, and then 10 to 15 feet on the other side of Cameron. So a pretty long part of the coast is going to see at least 10 feet of storm surge, which is also life-threatening. But 15 to 20 feet is to be said as it is not survivable. And I just saw in the chat that Veg was born during a Category 5 hurricane. Is that so? Good Lord. Could you imagine? It's I don't know, Mari, if we had a choice of a child name during a hurricane, I would have to dedicate the baby's name to the name of the hurricane that it was born in.
Even if it was a boy.
Even if it was a boy, we'd have to find a way to make it work.
Laura.
If it was Judy, I mean, sorry, buddy, your name's Judy. It's like having a boy named Sue, right?
Okay, well, apparently, Veg was just joking.
Oh, she was? See, don't do that to me. Damn you, Veg. I'm just joking. Thor Vahilla, good to see you out there, good friend. We were just talking about you the other day, how we missed you, so it's good to have you back. Glad to see you out there. But no, back on course here. I apologize. There's not really a lighthearted way to deliver this kind of
Veg is
news.
a he.
Huh?
Veg is a he.
He. Did I say she? No, Veg, don't be mad. I don't have ESP, so I can't tell. So anyway, he was. Whoops. These things have happened before. I've done this where sometimes a username looks like it could be a man's name and it's actually a woman. So I've done this before. This is not new, so don't take offense. Anyway, Cameron, 15 to 20 feet surge. Here's the good news out of all this. New Orleans, totally out of the woods. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, maybe. Minor flooding is expected. Some wind will still happen because the wind field for this storm is wow. Take a look at some of the wind forecast here. Galveston, there you see, not quite getting the hurricanes here. And this is for Wednesday into Thursday night. Power outages, obviously. We're looking at Lake Charles, the border of Texas and Louisiana really are getting the bullseye. I also want to point out that this is the first time that a hurricane this strong has made landfall in western Louisiana and Texas. That's what I heard today. 8 to 12 inches of rain is expected across Lake Charles. Shreveport looking at about 3 to 5 inches, higher than that local area. Even Little Rock still picking up 5 to 7 inches of rain from this storm through Saturday. Lake Charles is about 3.5 inches below its yearly average. So this will be a good opportunity to make up for some of that rain loss, but in no shape or form that we want to see it like this, honestly. So this is definitely a serious storm. Like I said earlier, if you are not evacuated, the time to leave is now. Hopefully there are shelters that are open for folks, because this is probably one of the strongest storms and the most, I mean, when you look at this eye wall here, how tight and very, very circular. I mean, right there, right at the end of this actual run here, you'll see it tighten up. It's kind of, wobbly a little bit before it gets closer to the coast. Right here, it's a little wobbly, and then right at the end of this radar run, I mean, that thing is completely circular. It has also taken the turn to the north, which also make one, but look at the wobble of this thing. This thing's going north and then west, and then it clicks back to the east. So there's a lot to watch on where this track is. For a minute, I thought this thing might have started steering towards Houston a little bit more. And it looks like in the last part of this run that it starts shifting back to the east. And I think that is a contribution from the jet that's now picking up the upper atmosphere and steering this thing, because it's going to whip around as it goes through Louisiana and Arkansas. It'll then take a hard right into Tennessee, Kentucky, and it exit out the mid-Atlantic states. But we are just getting started. It has not made landfall yet, and we are expecting landfall somewhere between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Again, this is a Cat 4 with winds of 145 miles an hour sustained, and maximum gusts at this time are at 175 miles an hour. It is a 947 on the pressure. It is moving still west-northwest, west-northwest, sorry, at 15 miles per hour. Now, this storm has slowed down a little bit. Yesterday, when we were on live, or 2 days ago, when we were on live, it was 17 miles an hour. And as we were going to the next update, it dropped to 16 miles per hour. So I thought, well, this is already a bad sign, right? Slowing down, each hour that passes by could it possibly slow down even more. And it's kept its speed for the most part. So this storm is slowed down just a little bit, but we're very close to a landfall. And the hope is that this storm gets caught up in the upper atmosphere at this speed and zips it through and moves it along as fast as possible. Now, this is not going to be a Harvey event for Lake Charles or anything like that, but when you combine the storm surge of 15 to 20 feet and then throw in a foot of rain, that is problematic. We're dealing with life-threatening flooding and rainfall, winds over 145 miles an hour crashing into the coast, with gusts up to 175 miles per hour. So we are going to be dealing with power outages, and again, nothing reporting yet. Obviously, the storm has not made landfall, but we're starting to see the outer bands affect southern Louisiana right now. Even some showers reaching parts of New Orleans at this time. And also some showers in the outer bands heading into Mississippi and Alabama. Nothing crazy, but this is a huge system. And let's see. Hang on. There's something else I wanted to show you. Yeah, let's show this. So here's the track. This is what we're expecting. By Saturday, this thing will be through Arkansas and on its way to the mid-Atlantic. So here, this is Saturday, where the blue arrow is. This will be a quick-moving storm, if you think about it. It's already Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Friday evening, overnight into Saturday, and then Saturday night before we get Sunday on out. This thing actually right here, guys, the mid-Atlantic states, all right, Virginia, West Virginia, D.C., New Jersey, Delaware. You guys need to kind of watch. There could be some increased moisture because we are dealing with a low-pressure system that is going to link up with Hurricane Laura. So there could be tropical-like rainfall for the mid-Atlantic states as the storm exits. But that's still days away. Right now, we're just trying to deal with the immediate, which is this gargantuan of a storm, Hurricane Laura. Again, she's still holding steady at now northwest at 15 miles per hour with a pressure of 947. It is a Cat 4 with sustained winds of 145 miles per hour. Gusts going up to 175. I'm going to check out the chat real quick. Say hello to everybody. So what are the plans for tonight? Well, right now, we're still watching this storm. It has not made landfall. Mari and I do plan to cover this as it makes landfall. But that is late tonight. So, yeah, it might be a late night tonight, but that's okay.
We have a few people in the chat that are in the way of the storm. One person said the eye wall is gonna cross them tomorrow in Arkansas.
It's just insane that this storm is going to be still a hurricane as it enters Arkansas. So many firsts. And another thing, too, guys, the type of work in Shreveport, anyway, I saw a report today that had some complications. Usually people in Shreveport, Louisiana, they travel south to where the hurricane damage is to help. But because they're going to experience a Cat 1 type storm themselves, they've stayed back and they're preparing their town. And usually, in a normal setting, without COVID, they have their inmates do all the work. The bagging of the sand, preparations for boarding up locations. Those guys would be the ones doing all this work. But because of the risk of infection, and not wanting to let these guys catch it and then give it to everybody in the prison, they are now doing the labor themselves. And the process is a lot slower, they're realizing, without all the help. So this thing is affecting people in more than one ways. And it's the way to prepare for this is being affected because of what's the global pandemic. So what a weird situation right now that we are in with this powerful storm getting ready to plow through the coast. My concern is what kind of damage is this going to be? Somebody in the comment just chatted, think of all the rebuilding work that will be there. Indeed. But my concern about that process is how much money is available through FEMA right now. And we all know that we are possibly dipping into the FEMA funds for the unemployed. And it just makes me wonder, is this a good move? Because we are entering the peak of the season in September, and things are already ramping up. We had 2 storms in the Gulf Coast today by itself, or yesterday, I should say. And Marco quietly went away, thankfully. But the bad part about Marco being quiet is that it didn't calm things down in the Gulf. In other words, it should have, if it was strong enough, it would have upwelled enough cooler water, and maybe Laura would not be coming in so hot and heavy right now. That's basically what I've got to say about that. Would the water still be this warm if Marco would have been a bigger storm? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if Marco would have been a Cat 2, would that have been enough to help keep the waters cooler and maybe contain Hurricane Laura as a Cat 3? I don't know. But right now we are dealing with a major hurricane that is intensifying right before our eyes. One of the things that I'm looking at right now on this radar loop here, guys, is how this area up here just explodes. Watch, right there. At the end of the run, weak, and then it explodes. So there's your strength, and then it dies down, and then it strengthens again. So we will see this behavior from this storm before it makes landfall, where it will look like it's weakening a minute right here, and then all of a sudden, boom, weak, strengthening, weak, and then intensifying again. So they basically describe these hurricanes as breathing. It inhales, it exhales. When it inhales, it looks like it's weakening. When it exhales, it just explodes, and you see all this red and black everywhere. Right now, we believe that we are experiencing what we call the exhale, and that another inhale will happen before landfall, and that might possibly be enough to put you over the edge for a Cat 5. We will follow this closely, guys. I think Mari and I may jump back on here in a little bit and may just kind of keep this stream going as a live stream and just kind of chime in from time to time and give an update on the stats. It's possible we can find some cameras. I don't know, at nighttime though, it's kind of hard to see all the waves.
Do it as a separate stream. I'll start a separate stream.
Okay, we could do that in a little while as we get closer to landfall. Right now, we're still hours away from a landfall from this storm. And the bad news about that is we still have time to see this thing intensify. And a Cat 4 is enough. Cat 3 is enough. This is something I heard today that reminded me of the Bahamas, the Dorian storm. Something that was said during Dorian is that when you're told to prepare for a Category 4 storm and you've been through a Category 4, you know what to expect. Except for these folks out here have never experienced a Cat 4. They've been ready for a Cat 1 or a Cat 2, but they've never had to experience this type of storm in this location. And the problem with the warning that people got from Dorian is that they were told that this was a Category 5. And there are a lot of people who will agree with me that Dorian exceeded that if there was another number. And what I'm saying is that Dorian saw winds over 225 miles per hour. And it still caught people off guard. After being told it was one thing and it turned into something completely stronger. And they've seen Cat 5 storms before out there. But this thing here was different. So let's hope and pray that we don't have to worry about it getting to that extreme, because this is going to, already right now, this storm is going to cause major coastal damage, and even the entire state of Louisiana, as far as where this track is from Lake Charles moving forward. It is possible that we will see hurricane conditions all the way to Little Rock. It'll be a Cat 1 when it's in Shreveport. It'll be close to a Cat 1 when it gets to Little Rock. Winds will still be somewhere around 60, 70 miles an hour. So, all right, guys, stay safe out there. We will be back with another live feed, a different kind of live feed. We'll leave the chat up so people can talk about this. Maybe we can get some real-time reporting from folks who are in the area or around it. And then we will come in from time to time giving updates on the storm and its current track and stats. And one more time before we leave the air, Hurricane Laura is a Category 4 with winds of 145 miles an hour sustained, maximum winds at 175. It is moving northwest now at 15 miles per hour with a pressure of 947 millibars. So plenty of time for things to change, and that's why we are very concerned. We're seeing Lake Charles, they are predicting 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. On top of that, we could see up to a foot of rain in some areas in southern and southwestern Louisiana. All right, guys, we'll be back here in a little while. Everyone stay safe, and we will talk soon.
Do you like the show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.